Welcome back, you pugnacious pummelers. I'm Lupinefiasco, this is Daily FaB Gameplay, and today we are playing Jarl Vetreidi. For anyone who's new to the channel, what we do here is review replays of games I played on the Talishar.net client days or weeks ago. After enough time has passed, that I lose my bias and can more objectively judge the quality of my games. I will talk through turn cycles as if I were taking them now, explaining my thought processes for the lines I would take and comparing them to the lines I did take. We either learn from my mistakes or reinforce good play patterns with the overall goal of tightening and optimizing our gameplay in the future to take down paper events and walk away with that shiny cardboard. If you would like to check out the deck I'm playing here or try it for yourself on Talishar, there is a FaB deck link in the video description below. While you're down there, if you haven't already done so, please consider a YouTube subscription. It's the best free way to support me and to make sure that you see daily FaB gameplay in your video feed 5 days a week. I have a Blue Sky, I have a Discord, and I have a Patreon where you can find the matchup guide for this deck list. Now, without further ado, let's jump right into the action. Right off the bat, this is a professional operation, and even professional operations do laundry from time to time, so ignore any clanging or rattling you hear in the background. Also, this is Vero's CYB tempo list. This is not my Jarl list, so if you see cards like Felling of the Crown, and you wonder why I'm playing those, when those don't match my public list, it is because I am testing something new. Against Dorinthea, of course we are not running Count Your Blessings, as it does not block, and we want to be able to block out the Dawnblade when possible. We have lost the die roll, but have been put second, so what we are looking to do is block as much as we can on turn 0, just to ensure that Dorinthea is not getting too much value over the top of blocks. We see a Warrior's Valor coming down. This Dawnblade is coming in for 4 on hit. It will gain Go again. I would like to block with Felling, Channel Mount Ison, and So Tomorrow. We're putting 8 block in front of a 4-power Dawnblade. Very few pumps can get over the top of this if Dorinthea did have them in hand, and we even get to discard a Fruit of the Forest to gain 2 life at the end of Dory's turn, so a really good start for us. The hand that we draw into is not bad. We don't get to convert too many of these cards. The best we can do with this is send Frostfang. Probably looking to pitch Frozen to Death and then Arsenal So Tomorrow, and what that'll let me do on my next turn is play the So Tomorrow. I can put Frostfang back into my deck, or Felling of the Crown more likely, and draw a card, so essentially make my own energy potion. Dorinthea has not blocked with armor, otherwise I think playing Frozen to Death here would be great. We could play So Tomorrow and Frostfang and avoid taking that intellect penalty, but neither Frozen to Death or Crumble to Eternity are really cards that I want in my arsenal. So I am happy to take the intellect penalty here and just hold on to this Crumble. Best case scenario is we draw Oaken-Old and a blue, and we get to single fuse with the same card, but if not, it blocks 3. I do want to block the Dawnblade as much as possible. I would like to do so intelligently. Dorinthea does not have too many new reactions yet. We don't know what the Hunted will bring, but a lot of the time you can anticipate what the Dory is going to do, and we will do our best to navigate lines with Stalagmite. We draw Oaken-Old because we are the greatest Flesh and Blood players. Here we have Hit and Run is going to give the Dawnblade Go again. We'll see if we even want to block. We are okay blocking with Plow Under. It's very unlikely that we're going to stop the Dawnblade from hitting, but maybe we can prevent it from getting counters. Because we only get to block 1 time, I would really not like to block with Plow Under here, just in case Dory has a Glint the Quicksilver or another reprise effect. In general, if you're only going to block 1 time and you aren't trying to reset the Dawnblade, you want to block on the second swing so that you don't get got by any reprise effects. So we'll take our 3 here. We'll see if Dori wants to pitch into Grains. If she does, and if she uses her floating resource for Greyforge Bracers, that'll tell us a lot about what the rest of her turn looks like. Here we've got the Dawnblade coming in for 4. If we did want to try and prevent the counter, we can put Plow Under and Gauntlet in front of this. There are any number of cards that Dori could have that would get over the top of our blocks. Really, any of her attack reactions can get over the top of blocks. If we wanted to, we could use Gauntlet and Civic Steps and just put Dori on Iron Song Response, but even that's terrible. I think blocking with Plow Under and Gauntlet here is not a bad line. We can even block with the Stalagmite, which says that if Dori has anything besides Iron Song Response, then we prevent the Dawnblade from getting a counter. I think that's fine. If we do get got by the Iron Song Response, that is unfortunate for us. Bad luck that Dori happened to have it, but at the very least she doesn't have an arsenal. And if this Iron Song is really any of her other reactions, then we do not get punished by blocking with Stalagmite. So a bit of bad luck there, but I do think the block was correct, just to try and prevent the Dawnblade from getting a counter. Oakenold for 9 with Dominate is something that Dori can stop. She can put Crown, Grains, Greyforge Bracers, and a 3-block in front of the Oakenold. What that does for us is open up one of her armor slots to start giving her Frostbites. It also takes away her Crown of Providence for whenever we draw Command and Conquer. It means that the CNC is an actual threat to her arsenal. So even if Dori does decide to commit all of her armor to stop the Oakenold hit effect, we are still benefiting from that. And if Dori instead just takes 9 and loses 2 cards, it puts us into a better position to either reset the Dawnblade or at least make sure it doesn't get any more counters. Dori does decide to commit all of her armor to this block. We also get a Dauntless out of her. So, yes, she does prevent the Oakenold hit effect, but we still get a good amount of value out of it. And we are now in a better position to start giving Dori Frostbite and start affecting her ability to actually play the game. The way I want to play this hand is that I am not looking to reset the Dawnblade this turn. We could commit 11 block to the Dawnblade by just putting our hand in front of it. Honestly, that might not be the worst way to navigate the turn cycle, though if Dori has a Singing Steelblade in hand, then she can possibly get over the top of our blocks. If she's Singing Steelbladed, found a route, and played it, she'd be able to get damage through. And if she gives us back a Boulder Drop, Plow Under, or especially a Frostfang, then we just kind of can't do all that much on our turn, depending on what our So Tomorrow draws us. It might be that we want to just take 7 from the first half of Dawnblade and then put Boulder Drop and Plow Under in front of the second half of Dawnblade. I like playing So Tomorrow out of Arsenal by pitching Crumble, using my 2 floating resources to attack with Frostfang, and then potentially having a card put into Arsenal after. We are taking a lot of damage, and we're giving Dori the opportunity to get more vigor, which will make her next turn easier to navigate. But in this way, we are also getting her Reflection Bolters. We are going to be able to prevent the Dawnblade from getting another counter, which means that we are using our Gauntlets, our Boulder Drop, and our Plow, which I think is a fine way to spend our armor. And I agree in the past as well, Dori does not have a Vigor to start the turn, which means that the Frostbite from the Jarl trigger off of Frostfang is going to be impactful. Here, unfortunately, we find a Fruits. We get to use it, right? We'll be able to gain 2 life this turn, but I would have preferred to have something in the arsenal, another attack, maybe an Ice Quake. But it is better than drawing something, more unplayable than Fruits of the Forest. We at least get to use the card, we get to convert the hand, we aren't taking an intellect penalty, and we aren't having to choose between arsenaling a bad card or taking that IP. So we will go up to 30. We're still sitting on our tunic. We've drawn into a pummel. There are a few ways that we can use this hand. I believe the best way, considering that the Dawnblade is attacking for 4, the best way to use this hand may be to play the Blizzard now. The reason being, not because I want Dory to pay 2 to prevent the Dawnblade from getting go again, but because I want Dory to have another Frostbite. When Dory has another Frostbite, I could block with Crumble to Eternity and my Gauntlets, putting 4 in front of the 4-power Dawnblade. It then falls on her to have a Iron Song response to be able to actually get around the block. We could also block with our Crown of Providence and Civic Steps. Yes, we give Dory a Quicken, but we prevent her from getting Reprise if we were to Blizzard. And then we probably sink our Ice Quake and try to find... Actually, no, we wouldn't sink at all. We would just Tunic Ice Quake, pitch Crumble to Titan's Fist. I guess we could sink our Crumble and try to find a blue that pitches, that costs 3 and turns the Ice Quake Titan's Fist into 7 damage. I do think that this line is my worst line. I would like to have Blizzarded here. We do find the way to turn Hammer into 4, but we don't have an Ice Quake. So I think this turn was really poorly navigated. I think the Blizzard was correct. I think blocking with the Crown was correct, but we should have blocked with Civic Steps to prevent any sort of reprise nonsense. And then also kept the Ice Quake so that we're likely to be able to hammer, because at this point we're just taking an intellect penalty. I believe the best way to navigate this is Fist for 3, discard Fruits to gain 2, and then Arsenal the Pummel. And we do have this Pummel. We are waiting until we can CNC Pummel or Oakenold Pummel, but we aren't presenting any kind of pressure to Dory. You're playing Crumble? I suppose I like this line. I actually don't, because Dory has the Vigor, so she gets a floating resource to pay through the Frostbite. We just put ourselves into a really bad position by not being able to present that Ice Quake Hammer for 7. The Dawnblade also isn't reset, and so now we're in a weird spot where we have to maybe take some damage. I don't like this. Dory with 2 cards and 2 resources, such that she probably can get through this block. If she has any kind of pump, any kind of reaction that just adds even 1 point of power to the Dawnblade, she gets over the top of our blocks and then can put another counter on the Dawnblade. And yeah, I'm going to Frostfang Pummel, but like I was saying before, if you are not trying to reset the Dawnblade, block it the second time so that she can't benefit from all of her reprise effects, like Singing Steelblade. We also would not have had to deal with the Dawnblade having that +3 power on the second attack, because Unsheathed only affects the next weapon swing, not every weapon swing. So this, again, very poorly navigated turn by me, and I'm just putting myself into a position where I'm falling further and further behind. Now we are going to be able to catch up here. Crumble is going to give, I don't know why I keep saying Crucible to Eternity. Crumble gives the Frostfang Dominate, so we know it's going to connect. We also know that Dory has a Frostbite currently. Pummel is going to take a card out of her hand. Frostfang will take a second card out of her hand. She could still be able to play through the Frostbite, and with 2 cards, she has 2 Vigors, one of which cancels out the Frostbite, and the second pays for the Dawnblade. So she gets to do things. We are certainly still in a bad position. Now, we have good cards left in our deck. This is a poor combination of those cards. I think this is a fine way to navigate the turn. We are just hoping that Dory doesn't find a Twinning Blade or a way to get the Dawn Blade over the top of blocks. We really lucked out. I'm glad I saw that snap decision where we are just resetting the Dawn Blade and arsenaling the Pummel so that we can find this hand, which is insane. Here we are again. We shouldn't be blocking this one. We should be blocking the next Dawn Blade so that Dory does not get to use her reprise effect to push the Dawn Blade over the top of blocks. In this way, she still has the ability to find Go Again, whereas she would not have had it before. So we get extremely lucky that Dory doesn't find the Go Again for her Dawn Blade, but had we not blocked it all, I think we would have been in a better position to deal with the ramifications of needing to keep 3 cards so that we can Oakenold Pummel. Now, this Oakenold Pummel is going to catch us up in this game, right? Very quickly, talking about the ordering of Oakenold and Pummel, because they both affect what your opponent has in their hand. The correct way to order these two effects when your opponent has 4 cards is that you want to put the Pummel first. And the reason being that when you Oakenold first, your opponent has a much better idea of what their hand is going to look like. They'll lose 2 cards at random, yes, but then of the 2 remaining cards, they get to pick which one they keep because Pummel is not a random discard. They get to choose. If you put the Pummel first, your opponent will discard the worst card in their hand, and then Oakenold says you have a 66% chance of losing the thing you wanted. Pummel says you have a 50% chance at keeping the thing you wanted. Oakenold says you have a 33% chance to keep it. So if you order the Pummel first, your opponent has a lower chance of getting something good. So we have Pummel discarding a Glistening Steel Blade. Our opponent then gets to keep 2 cards at random. We unfortunately gave them a Quicken, so even with a single blue, the Dawn Blade would attack for 3 with Go Again. This Dawn Blade does represent a potential counter. We do have the cards in graveyard to decompose, so we can block this with, I guess, Frozen to Death is going to be the best one to use. And then we can Rootbound Carapace, decompose to cover 7 total, and that for the most part is going to cover any single reaction that Dory has. Here we have that Puncture representing 3. So we can play our Rootbound Carapace. We don't need to decompose it. We very well could, just to get cards into our Banish, but we also have enough Earth cards that we can play our Plow Under, and Plow Under can banish 2 Earth cards and then an Earth action, and that would push us up to our 4 Earth cards in Banish to turn on the plus power. Dory doesn't have an arsenal, so the Plow Under here doesn't represent anything more than 6 vanilla damage, but 6 damage does represent almost half of Dory's remaining life total. So I'm not necessarily unhappy about it. We potentially force her to block for value. If she does take 6 here and go to 7, we have plenty of attacks in our deck that deal 7 damage. We have our Tunic up in case we draw a Pummel at a 2-cost attack. So we are really in a position where Dory is under siege. She will not get to keep large hands anymore because she needs to preserve that life total. Our hand represents lethal just by sending Felling of the Crown. Dory needs to give us at least 1 card. We can also keep our 2 E-Strikes in order to send 5 with Go Again before we send that Felling of the Crown. If I am going to try to block the Dawn Blade, I want to do it after the first attack. I want to block the second attack. As I've been saying, we've seen Dauntless and Unsheathed used, so this Dawn Blade is only going to come in for 3. Dory did not pitch into Braveforge Bracers, which tells me that she is holding onto a red. Do we want to gamble on it being the last Iron Song response? I think the answer is no. I think we were happy to take 3 from the Dawn Blade, go to 7, let the Dawn Blade tick up to 4. And then on our turn, we send 13 damage, of which Dori will lose 1 card and have to use at least 2 more to stay alive. We could also block the Dawnblade with Gauntlet, Tunic, and Civic Steps. We cover the damage. Dori does not get a counter. Dori cannot play her Iron Tongue response if she is holding it, and then we get to send 13. We lose our full Tunic, but we aren't planning to use our Tunic on our next turn. And if we were thinking that 5 plus 8 is going to be enough to either kill Dori or prevent her from ever sending a meaningful turn again, then we really don't need a Tunic available. We can just keep 4 cards if we wanted to CNC Pummel or Plow Under Pummel or Frostfang Pummel or Tear Asunder Titan's Fist, something like that. So we send E-Strike for 5 go again, representing 8 damage behind it. Dori here takes 2 and goes to 5. So we've got Felling of the Crown is coming in for 8. Dori will need to bottom 1 card to the Decompose effect, and then we'll need to spend at least 1 more card to block the Felling so that she doesn't die. She could give us a 3 block and Grains of Blood Spill in order to prevent lethal damage, go down to 1. She does still have this Quicken, so even off of the single blue, she could represent 2 Dawnblade attacks, and depending on what her card in Arsenal is, it could very well represent lethal if we just didn't block. We draw into a Rootbound Carapace, which is going to be enough to cover lethal damage from the Dawnblade. Here I like blocking with Imposing Visage and Rootbound. We don't need to decompose, we just cover 6 on our own, and then send a CNC, get 2 more cards out of Dori, and just wait. We could also send, and here's what I like better, sending Titan's Fist with pitching Tear Asunder. We get 2 cards out of Dori because of the breakpoint, and then we can Arsenal the CNC and just wait for an Ice Quake or a Pummel. Dori gonna pack it in ahead of that. Really quick game I wanted to show you, just because I think I navigated the first half of it very poorly. We got a very nice Oakenold Pummel that brought us right back into the game, but up until that point I played very poorly around Reprise, I played very poorly around possible reactions, and I don't see a lot of Dorinthea, so it is always nice to review these games and be refreshed on what her attack reactions do and how you can play around them to maximize your own value and minimize the threat of her putting +3 or +4 damage on top of the Dawnblade. So I hope you learned something from this game. I hope you enjoyed it. If so, be sure to pummel that like button. My comments are always open for any questions or feedback. If you haven't already done so, please consider a YouTube subscription. It's the best free way to support me and to make sure that you see daily FaB content in your video feed 5 days a week. I have a Discord, a Blue Sky, and a Patreon. All of those links are in the video description below, as well as the link to this deck list on FaBery. Until the next time I see you on Daily FaB Gameplay, take care.